I've been working on clock circuits and things because I got this crazy chicken machine that you can see down here, and I've been using this thing. So you can see the machine's cranking away, and I'm placing random signs on things. I hate carrying signs around for that reason. It's most annoying. As you can see, I'm producing a bunch of stuff. Lots of it is eggs, unfortunately, but this part of the machine keeps failing on me. It's a timer meant to let the minecart sit underneath for a long time. Although, actually, kind of think of it, the minecart's not even there. Minecart's up here. On with you. In either case, what I've got here is a repeater timer that's supposed to be triggered by the sensor rail, shoot out there, and delay the sending back off so that the car can unload. And it can more or less do it, but unfortunately, when you log out or chunks unload, what ends up happening is this no longer gets fired. It gets lost somewhere, and then the cart just stops. So I need to make a timer that will always start up when a chunk loads, and which will fire off this cart at a nice little delay so that it has time to do its thing as far as loading and unloading is concerned, because I don't want it just bouncing off the ends. I've been building a bunch of things, but oh, for Pete's sake, are we going to have a spider yelling at me? Give me a moment. Here's my little upstairs area. Yeah, not impressed with your shenanigans. Have we got another? Please tell me we don't have another. We've got another. At this point, they're not able to go over this fence, partly because I've altered the fence. So you remember I was talking about getting this up and working, and it has to have the overhang, so I just put a lot of exaggerated overhang, and that's been stopping the spiders from getting through. These are leaf blocks, so there's lighting here which is coming through the leaf blocks. They're semi-transparent. But what we're here to see is not that. What we're here to see is a clock. And this is what I've settled on. You might recognize this as a hopper clock. It's got one item inside it, and the hoppers are in a square going around in a circle, and a comparator is giving me an output which is powering this block. But this is a little more than just a simple hopper clock. In fact, it is a clock that is reliable, because it'll start up with the hopper always in one of the item always in one of the hoppers. And this one is free running and it is not latched up in any way, so there's no condition this can start up in that fails to operate. As far as I know, anyhow. It does not seem as if there would be. And this entire thing runs much longer than that entire space filled with hoppers. Here's how it works. We've got the four-way hopper clock driving a comparator, and this entire thing is made up of stages, and the stages are made of 4 hoppers, 1 comparator, 1 repeater, 1 torch, and let's see, 2 redstone dust. Possibly 3, but this is just for the output. These parts don't don't have to be there. The entire thing can be too wide and take up enough space. Too wide and too high, it looks like, because it needs to take up space for the comparator and the redstone. You could dig into a mountain and just make a deep hole for building this in, as long as you had a 3 high area that you could jump over stuff and work on it, because you will need to place the hoppers. Hoppers are placed like this. I can't demonstrate it because I only have one hopper left. They're placed by putting one of the hoppers and then connecting all the previous ones to that one, and then destroying the one that you put and connecting it. They just need to go around in a circle. It's fairly straightforward. If I really need to make a tutorial video for that, I will. But here is how this works. The comparator is powering this block. The block has this torch attached to it, and the torch is an inverter. What that means is that you have signal output 3 of the 4 states, and then when the comparator is on, the torch is off. And that's just connected to all this redstone dust. And it'll go back into this block, or indeed you could put dust here as well. You can take the output from, this point would be just as good. But the connection here, I assume, stupid spiders, razzle my nerves, they do. Actually, come to think of it, it does kind of need to go back, doesn't it? The wire has to go back onto the block because of the successive stages. I'm going to go and kill this spider. The dust on the top locks the hoppers and stops the item from moving. So this one's going at this rate. It's about 1.5 seconds. And the stage after that, it's going at about 4 seconds, because each step of the way the hoppers are being locked until the first one opens them up. As you can see, this only goes on when the item is in this bin. And it would like to go around as fast as the top one, but it's getting shut off each time. You hit the inverter output, and here's the trick, which means that this can continue to extend through rather than just sort of making a big flashy mess. This part of the circuit is straightforward. You got the output of the hopper, you want it to move only so fast, and it's unlocking only when the item is in that thing. And it goes on to the next one, and so on and so forth, unlocking only when the item is in that hopper. But there's a timing problem with it, which is solved by using these as diodes. Essentially what we're doing is we're taking this output from the very first one that's staying on 3 times out of 4, and it's going through here and through this diode at a setting of 1. This has to be at 1 click for the timing to work. And it continues to go through. The signal can't go back, because if it went back, everything would just go on all the time. But it can go forward, and it's filling in gaps in the timing. Actually works out pretty good. I'm not quite sure, I think it's a stroke of luck as to how the timing worked, because it's a tricky thing. I had one in which there was only 2 hoppers in a stage, and it required more repeaters and more parts, and this actually, it multiplies each stage by roughly 3 and requires fewer parts. So it's a pretty slick operation. And then each stage extends and it stays on for longer, because in order for it to open up, all of the successive ones have to have the item in that corner of the quadrant. They have to cycle through, and they can only cycle one step at a time. Each thing can only move the hopper one step at a time because it's only opening up for one blink. As you can see, we can watch how that works. 1.5 seconds roughly. These timings are not perfectly exact. I haven't actually measured them, but they should be pretty consistent. Second stage is 4 seconds roughly. And it's a fairly compact little apparatus for having a 4-second delay. Third stage is about 14 seconds. And again, this is getting more and more compact for the amount of time that it takes. Then we get 40 seconds. It's almost a minute in a space that's only that big. You can see it's blinking away, the end one is going, and periodically it'll get the middle one. These are the outputs of the stages. And you can leave out this entire, everything beyond here, because this is just showing the outputs. It's my little ladder illustrating how this works. And we just fired off the 14-second one, and if we're lined up correctly, maybe the 40-second one will go this time. It's right over here. This is much like a binary counter, but it's a 4-way binary counter, so it takes longer to iterate through all of the stages. And nope, that wasn't the 40-second one, but maybe next time it will be. Probably we got another 14 seconds or so, another 14 or maybe about 30 seconds max, because we've been watching this go for a bit. And that wasn't a 14, but next time 14, and nope, we didn't get the 40-second that time either. So next time for sure. As you can see, this is a pretty effective gear ratio for the timer. We're going to quickly graduate to beyond what I can even show you in one video. And boom, 40 seconds, and then 40 seconds from now, this will trigger again. But it goes on from there. Next stage beyond that is roughly a minute and a half. It's about 3 times 40 seconds. Or thereabouts, anyhow. These are ballpark estimates. I could time them out with the stopwatch, but I went with the torches, and I'd probably want to put a piston on here and listen to it if I was going to time the stuff out with a stopwatch. And then it would also get really tedious, because after a minute and a half, you got 6 minutes. And it's going to take some time to get to this one, but it'll work the same way as the other one did. And again, that's 1, 2, in the end that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stages to get us to 6 minutes of delay time. Again, this is like a binary counter, but the gear ratio that it works at is amazing. And it doesn't end there, because after 6 minutes, boom, 18 minutes. Just one more stage. There's the geometric quality of this. It just magnifies and magnifies, because after 18 minutes, we'll scooch around here, you got about an hour. And we can still see the end of the timer, and this is only 2 wide. This entire thing fits in a space that is this big. We can ignore this entire area over here, and the actual timer works on this size for an hour of delay. Or indeed, if you want, 3 hours of delay. Now that's more time than most people will need for a timer that you can see the end of, and that is 2 by 2 in size. by, so how big is that then? 1, 2, 3, 2 by 2 by 45 for 3 hours of delay. I would honestly like to see anybody make a timer this good using this few resources. Because yeah, it's using a very small amount of resources for what it is, and it's only X many stages. 9 stages for about 3 hours, and that means about 9 comparators and 9 repeaters. And 9 times 4 hoppers, but that's just a chest and some iron, so that's not that big a deal. This may be the best timer. Might just be the best timer. Nice thing about it also is because it's designed the way that it is and has to operate by controlling the pulses. If you can't control the pulses, it doesn't update properly. That means that the output pulse, which I'll have to go way down here or wait for an hour to see, the output pulse is a very controlled time. It runs off of an inverter, so I can say that this part is arbitrary, but you do need to have one of these on the end to get a single pulse, otherwise you'll get a gap of a pulse. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but it does mean you will want to have a inverter and power stuff using a torch. But no matter how far back you get, it should be giving you a nice, controllable, I'm not sure quite how many ticks that is, but enough, a output pulse of a reasonable number of ticks in a controlled kind of way. I'm going to call this a clamped hopper timer because that's how it works. Is we're using all this redstone and we're using all of this energy to clamp all the hoppers and release them only briefly. They're getting released when the each respective timer goes through to this stage, and also when the pulse from the end gets through here. Both of those have to be true to release the end part. You gotta have the diodes in there, otherwise the whole thing will just be constantly powered up. And the diodes need to be on a delay of 2, so one from the end. But the design of this is simple enough that with a bit of luck, it'll be easy to remember for people. So it's going to be a go-to timer for these delays. Your 40 seconds, your minute and a half, or so on. With a bit of luck, this could be a go-to timer because it's easy to remember how to build. You just have to successively do these whirligig timers, and then you clamp them and take the output off of the comparator and then run through the side channel with your repeater. Each stage has that one torch on the end, and you just basically run redstone everywhere that doesn't have the torch going from it, and ba-doom. Apple Drinks' clamped hopper timer. Thank you very much.